Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to PGM's second webinar, Social Media Advocacy Program, 10 Tips to Build Loyal Brand Ambassadors. My name is Marissa Schmidt, and I'm the Marketing Director at PGM. My hope for you is at the end of this presentation, you will learn what a social media advocacy plan is and how to cultivate a variety of ambassadors in your spheres of influence. So let's get started. The first tip is actually to create a social media advocacy program. We'll go into what this is, why this matters, how to identify SMART goals, and finally pinpoint those potential brand mission ambassadors. Throughout the webinar, I'll be using brand and mission ambassadors kind of interchangeably. They're the same thing essentially, but mission ambassadors is geared more towards the nonprofit sector. But let's take a beat this morning really quick. When you hear social media advocacy program, what are some words that come to mind? Go ahead and pop them in the chat. We'll give like 10, 15 seconds. Maybe trust, maybe loyalty, digital praise, ambassadorship. Great. Next slide. Well, by definition, it is a structured strategy for building a network of brand advocates. The key to building this advocacy program lies in leveraging your existing communities. It is important to remember that people don't always trust the ads or the messages from brands. However, they're more willing to trust a message sent by a friend or a family member or colleague. According to Nielsen's 2021 Trust in Advertising study, a whopping 89% of respondents trust recommendations from people they know. Additionally, these recommendations are almost twice as likely to generate action too. So this is where your advocacy program matters. Having people in place that are trustworthy and help promote your nonprofit, essentially doing the work for you because they believe in your mission, helps you get seen. Because remember, each mission ambassador has their own personal and professional network connections, and by activating them as ambassadors, you can leverage these additional networks and reach a greater audience, casting the net even further. Additionally, with a structured plan in place, you can determine the best ways to engage and re-engage these mission ambassadors. Later on, we'll break down what this looks like for employees and staff, volunteers, board members, community partners, donors, and clients. And you best believe that all are a little bit different in how you should approach them to be ambassadors for you. Moving on, of course, we want to identify those SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely goals to keep us on track. Because who doesn't love the metrics and the insights, right? We always need to be tracking our stuff. A great example would be to give 90 days after the implementation of your social media advocacy plan to see if your Instagram following can increase by 15%. When it comes to the best people for this role, in short, anyone can be a loyal mission ambassador. If you, anyone can be this ambassador. If you're just starting the program though, looking at engaged social media followers and people clicking the links in your newsletters is a great place to start. So, excuse me, what does an engaged social media follower look like? Someone who shares, reacts, or comments on your actual posts or videos on Facebook, people who view your Instagram stories or reels, retweet your tweets, and of course, follow you on your social channels. With newsletters, copy and calls to action are everything, right? So start honing in on the people who are engaged with your email content, the ones who are opening your email and clicking your call to action buttons to learn more or to read your blog post. These are great candidates for a mission ambassador, and it gives you a great place to start. The overall goal, though, is to recruit them to your cause and creatively engage and re-engage them with the benefits. Moving along to tip 2, provide your mission ambassadors with what they need to succeed. Provide your ambassadors with a one-stop shop when it comes to your organization's communication. A toolkit is a great way to go. What you say and how you reflect the organization are critical for the right positive perceptions to develop. Here's an example of a nonprofit's primary color palette and logo usage, and these are just like a few pieces that are beneficial to have in your toolkit, just to lock in the brand consistency. It's important to note that a toolkit for a volunteer will look different from that of a donor, slightly in the messaging and the sentiment. So a few other items in this kit could be key messages or top level organization bullet points. That could be like an elevator pitch, sample social posts, including design, copy, hashtags, brand guidelines, directives on logo and image usage, case studies, or as I like to call them, stories of hope, and personal reflection. This is optional, but it gives the ambassador the opportunity to reflect on why they support your mission. It's an unscripted way to convey these true feelings on your cause. And all of this, guess what, can be in a digital format, so it's easy sharing access for everyone. All right, rolling right into tip number 3, and I won't spend too much time here since we'll break this down further depending on the audience, but some great ways to create a valuable and a rewarding experience for ambassadors may be special programs where they're in the loop on the latest, access to exclusive experiences. Maybe it's an extra ticket to your gala or a few additional raffle tickets at a golf outing. We love those social media shout outs too. So if your ambassador is comfortable with you acknowledging them, this might be a great way to invest in that positive experience for them. Of course, swag. We love to rep the mission with those t-shirts and hats and all that fun stuff. Unique hashtags for volunteer events is a big one. When you have a really special hashtag for surrounding your event, people will be more inclined to be a part of it and share it on social when they're doing the work. Their photos and videos, that's that user-generated content. So if you're out, for example, collecting garbage in a forest preserve, hashtag going green 23 or do page cleanup. Just these little things, people will be so much more inclined to be a part of. Lastly, contests or challenges of any kind to incentivize grabs our attention of our competitive spirit. So this might be an idea to explore too. 2 things to consider here with tip number 4 are just to keep in mind those SMART goals that you set in the beginning, track them to see what's working well and maybe the things that need improvement. Especially with the other consideration of the digital world constantly evolving, right? Your program should be current with what the social landscape looks like right now and relevant to specific platforms. It may look way different in a year or 2, and it just keeps us on our toes constantly. So in the final tips for the rest of the presentation, I'll go into each specific ambassador category and kicking it off with our wonderful employees and staff. So when pinpointing who would be a great mission ambassador, your employees and staff should always be top of mind. Once you've supplied them with your toolkit and helped them understand the importance of ambassadorship, you can explain the program is optional, but you would love for them to partake. A social media agreement is always a good reinforcement tool to have because your employees will be posting on your behalf through their channels. So there needs to be that clear expectation from the get-go. So your toolkit would be that source of truth. Additionally, with all of this in mind, you want to give your employees space and trust them to promote your brand in a way that is authentic and beneficial to your organization. With employees, you'll see incentive-based programs used to encourage them to be ambassadors for you. A few ideas are contests, of course, gift cards, small prizes. If it's applicable to your organization, a little future promotion or a raise is always something that you can appreciate your employees with. Gratitude dinner with recognition is always a great way to go too. Building ambassadorship with volunteers, though, can be a little tricky just because this would not be an incentivized program per se. They're already doing the volunteer work out of the goodness of their hearts, and most likely these are humble people. They don't care too much about the bragging rights. However, before you start nurturing these volunteers into ambassadors, first consider how the online experience is for them. Is your volunteer page accessible and easy to navigate? Is there someone they can contact for additional questions or further information? Is there a form to sign up for an event? These are all things you need to keep in mind. Think from this lens. How are they supposed to promote your information if it isn't there? Now, some ways you can cultivate volunteers into loyal mission ambassadors would be to highlight them on social media, of course. Another idea is to hold appreciation events, maybe give out unique awards such as Biggest Heart Award, Early Bird Award, On the Ball Award, Social Savvy Award. These are all just coming off the top of my head, but you get the idea, and you can come up with as many creative ideas as you'd like. The key to an appreciation event is to make it memorable for what your organization provides. And make sure that you share all these appreciation events on social media. Show the potential volunteers what to expect from you when it comes to appreciation. Third, the good old handwritten note goes a long way too, going back to before all the digital stuff. It's really nice to receive that handwritten, thoughtful note. So, but I'd love to hear from you guys. What are some ways you build up volunteers and show them appreciation? If you have any ideas, go ahead and drop them in the chat. All right. Well, let's see. We got a chat. Let's see. Volunteer party. Love that. That's a great idea. Suzanne, yeah. Cool. All right. So now let's get into how to build that ambassadorship with your board members. They are the backbone of the organization when it comes to decisions. So their role is vital. First, recognize that this is a big ask due to the personal nature, of social media with Facebook and LinkedIn. Those are the two primary social channels that your board members are on and would probably share your content. There are many benefits, both from a personal standpoint and how it impacts you, the organization as a whole. Some personal benefits: when a board member shares the content and toolkit assets you provided them or share the nonprofit's posts as they appear in their feed, this showcases to their followers that, yes, they are actively involved in the philanthropic world. This board member also gains the benefit of being perceived as someone who cares about the community. And when they dedicate themselves to the cause, it feels genuine. This could create a positive chain reaction with other board members. You never know, they'll follow suit. It just takes one leader to get it going. And that, in essence, is the goal. Organizational benefits: social media is a collaborative sharing network, and it's the likes and the reactions that make you noticed by a smaller audience, but it's the shares. It's the shares that expand your audience tenfold. Now you have your cousin, down in Tampa seeing the love you have for the organization you sit on the board for. And of course, equipping your board members with this knowledge and actively showing them how to engage and share on social media is pivotal. You are providing the tools for success. Now they put it into practice. Arguably, your board members should be built-in brand ambassadors when they agree to the terms of their role. Maybe, just maybe, you have a mandatory ask that all board members are required to share the nonprofit social posts from any channel once a month. It's not a big ask. Or if they aren't social media savvy, they can forward along a newsletter to their networks. All these ideas hold them accountable and motivate them to be the best mission ambassador that they can be. And guess what? That benefits your organization. Community partners is a unique category when it comes to building ambassadorship. I say this because there is no incentive-based program here. It's more a transactional one where you want to build goodwill. At the end of the day, everyone's looking for content, and what better way to build this relationship with outside partners than to share and support them as an organization? When you take initiative and directly reach out to partners, asking them if there's anything you can help promote on their end, it becomes noticed, and 9 times out of 10, they'll share your content too. So it's a win-win system. For example, maybe you're an organization that supports youth. A partner for you is a health and human services agency, and for Mental Health Awareness Month, reach out to this agency and see, hey, how can I help promote what you've got going on? Speaking from experience as a fellow social media follower and marketer, I love seeing when a nonprofit supports another nonprofit. It's just a positive community collaboration, and I'm personally all for it. So, but lastly, when you do this right, it builds that goodwill, and you'll be surprised to see who follows your lead. It's smart to lift other partners up when it comes to your social media plan. For a donor, one of the first touch points to give is on your website. To make a brand ambassador out of a donor, the online donation process must be accessible, clear, and all around a seamless process. According to HubSpot's current stat, the #1 reason Gen X may not choose to donate to an organization is due to an outdated website. Make sure you don't fall into that category. Today, I encourage you maybe to do a quick audit of your site and see, all right, where is my donate button? Is it called out on the homepage? Is it in the navigation or above the fold? The placement is very important. But that's a whole other topic on content strategy and website design that we're not going to get into today. The main point here is you want that positive experience for a donor right out of the gate. Your online donation process speaks volumes. It really does. A few great ideas to think about too, when a donor completes a donation online, is what are some next tangible steps that you can give them to keep them involved? Hence, cultivate them as your mission ambassador. Have some copy maybe already drawn up on the thank you page that prompts them to share directly to Facebook, or supply them with a creative asset that says something along the lines of, I support this organization or cause, prompting them to share awareness, not solicitation. Basically, let them know that their social media advocacy stretches the dollars they donated even further. That's the goal. With this group, we know that donors are more so private people too, right? And would prefer to give that silent support rather than shout it from the rooftops. That's when a private thank you comes into play. You also have a greater opportunity to keep donors involved by asking them to create their own fundraisers on social media. We love those Facebook birthday fundraisers, and that's an excellent way to get your nonprofit's mission into the donors networks and raise funds. So as you can see, the stat on the slide right here, 45% of the social media platform donors give on Facebook. So that's a pretty significant amount of people who would give directly through the Facebook donation platform. I'm interested to hear from you guys really quick. Can you think of any other ways to build that loyalty with donors? Let's see. All right. You can keep thinking on that. We'll move right along. The final group to think about today is your clients. Again, we want to look at that digital lens on your website and ask yourself, can they access case studies to show your nonprofit like how they can help them? Are there testimonials or reviews? When they need assistance from your charity, how quickly can they get questions answered? These are all important things to keep in mind when cultivating clients or prospective clients. And this group falls into its own category built on authenticity and the will to help others. There's no transaction or incentives here. It's just sharing the hope and hopes to help others. You may be surprised how willing clients are open to sharing their stories. Now, of course, there is a level of confidentiality here, but it never hurts to ask. The younger generation are becoming really transparent. In fact, you'd be shocked at how transparent we have become. You know, speaking from experience as a millennial, millennials and Gen Z happily share and talk about all different topics on social media. So if you have a millennial client, why not prompt them and ask if they're willing to share the experiences that they've had with you? Authenticity is highly valued on social media, as we all know. We don't like the fluff. We just want to get to the heart of the matter. Here's a great example. Let's say I'm a nonprofit center for families experiencing homelessness, and we just gave out certificates for program completion and job readiness for parents. I would first start by asking any younger clients and parents if they feel comfortable sharing their certificate or a picture of them holding it on social. I'd frame it this way. If your experience with us could help others as it helped you, please share this with your networks. It opens the opportunity for them to be that ambassador. My good pal Katrina here has a great quote, and it's, people are not as inclined to subscribe to the idea of believing they are lesser than because of lesser means. I'm going to repeat it one more time because it's just so good. People are not as inclined to subscribe to the idea of believing they are lesser than because of lesser means. That's just some good stuff right there. We're all giving each other grace and support on social and recognizing that it's okay to ask for help. So when building your advocacy strategy for clients, keep in mind the different generations and ages and willingness to help bring awareness on social. So this is a lot of information, but you might be asking yourself, what now? How do I start? Well, first determine if your organization is ready to build out a social media advocacy program. Look at your engaged social followers, email subscribers who are clicking the content you're providing them. Reach out to current volunteers, donors who have recently given. Start the conversation with staff about the importance of ambassadorship, and especially bring home to your board how vital their role is in this. Reaching out to each group genuinely will be key. And once you are confident you have the buy-in from 2 or more of the groups, you can create your toolkit to distribute to them. Here are some examples of different messaging you can use when introducing your toolkit. For volunteers, let's take a moment to appreciate you. Your dedication and generosity of your time and effort are remarkable, and your grassroots efforts need not be buried. When you share on social media about how you're helping us, your boots on the ground get extra mileage and propel our mission forward. Whereas board members, here's the sentiment here. As board members, we value your insights, opinions, and expertise. We look to you for support and guidance in making connections within our community. When you post about us on social media, you're not only affirming your dedication to our mission, you're affirming your investment in the people we serve and the community as a whole. When you post, people listen. So you can kind of see the two very different messages and tones we're expressing here. And we'll go on to the next slide. We'll just do one more. Let's look at, how about clients? What better feeling is there than to pay it forward by sharing your wisdom with others who share your experiences? Your success story deserves to be heard and is an inspiration to those who find themselves in your shoes. When you share your experience with our organization on your social media profile, you're spreading something good and helping others you may not even know in the process. This slide deck and recording will be emailed to you at the conclusion of this presentation. So you'll have ample time to read through and digest these. And again, this is a working template and jumping off point. So we always encourage you to weave in your own unique language too. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us this morning. We have some time for questions. If anyone has any questions.
Just to chime in here, Marissa, while we wait for some questions to populate.
Sure.
I think your point about how you approach each potential brand ambassador needs to be unique is very important, right? Because we want to inspire them to even if they're not creating their own content based on the template that you might send them or the toolkit, just getting them to share your own posts, right? That's the quickest and easiest way to do brand advocacy. And like you mentioned earlier briefly, that it is a big ask, right? Our social media profiles are personal, and many of us have them set to private. Many people are cautious about how much they disclose. And so it is really important when we're approaching volunteers, board members, clients even, it's important that we communicate to them what is the gain here, right? And so I think when the slide deck is distributed to everyone, seeing how we approach each different potential brand ambassador is going to be very helpful, because it helps to communicate why we're asking, and what the value is, right? Especially when our donors are older people who may not recognize the value of social media. It's important to inform them and let them know that, right, your dollar goes further as a donor when you promote us on social media. As a client, right, we can reach more people and help more people, and you're empowering them to do something good by sharing their experience. So reaching them where they are is very helpful. So I really love that point. Real quick, we have some questions coming in. Janine says, I really appreciate this. I think social media branding is so new to our organization. I'm just taking all this in. Do you have recommendations for social media posting schedule? Like how often we should be sharing things? So, and also something when we can share with our advocates. So let's talk a little bit about what is considered too much or not enough. Where's the sweet spot in terms of how often an organization should share, Marissa?
Well, I mean, I'm actually going to throw that back to you as a social media manager over there. So do you have any insights there?
Absolutely. So the sweet spot is between 3 and 5 times a week. And there should be somewhat of a balance, right? So we of course want to promote what our organization is doing, but we also want to mention our community partners to keep those connections alive. We also want to share relevant news to keep the content that we're posting to our followers' feeds valuable. The thing I always bring up when talking about what's too much or not enough is remember that people pay to not see ads. So it's important that whatever we're posting to social media has a goal of inspiring our followers, educating our followers, and showing them what we're accomplishing as an organization, so that we're validating that they are correct in their support of our organization. So I'd say anywhere between 3 and 5 is a good number. I'd say if you're, as you mentioned, social media is fairly new for you. If you're just starting a social media presence, I would recommend posting more frequently. That means 5 days a week to 7 days a week, just because you're fighting with an algorithm. So you want to make sure that you're posting enough content that shows Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter that you are relevant. And that will help grow your follower base. Once you have a pretty established follower base, you can dial back to 5 posts a week. That's especially helpful when you've got a big event coming up and you really want to promote that, because you want to make sure that you're not over inundating your social media profile with ads. So that's why I say increase the volume, because then you can also keep the variety. Variety is really important. And the other thing too is if it's new, the most important thing. So let's say, okay, I want to build a presence, but I don't have time to map out 5 to 7 posts a week. Fine. The most important piece is really consistency. So if you can manage to map out 3 posts a week, and that's all you can do with your bandwidth, that is far better than nothing. That's far better than nothing. And again, you can even dial back even further depending on what your bandwidth is. And as long as you're doing it consistently, 1 to 2 posts a week, you're still going to see some growth. While it may not be as large as if you were to dedicate a full 5 posts a week, you'll still see incremental growth for the time that you're contributing to your social media platforms. And I hope that helps to answer your question. Also, in terms of something you can share with your advocates, the best thing you can do is ask at a board meeting, volunteer, or clients to say, hey, are you following us?
Mm-hmm.
Are you following us on social media? Because that way, if they're following you, they can even choose to prioritize your posts in their own settings to see you first. But just making sure that they're following you, the great opportunity there is they'll see your posts and then be able to share them from there. Let's see. Thank you, Martin Avenue. We appreciate the shout out in the chat. Thank you so much, Mary. And oh, good. Thank you, Janine. I'm glad that helped you out. I'm happy that we could give you some guidance there.
Awesome. Well, we're just at time, so please be sure to continue to check out our monthly webinar series. Next month's topic is all about boosting your audience and learning how to increase your engagement through various digital channels, presented by Ms. Katrina. Following April's webinar, we have our PR team actually discussing crisis communication in May. So that is one that you don't want to miss. Some good stuff there. But thank you so much for tuning in and joining us this morning. Have a great and productive rest of your day, everybody. Thank you.